When you meditate, the most powerful way is to return your consciousness to a reflexive state. In this state, nothing really happens. Except you get pulled deeper and deeper into yourself. Where you get lost in space until you feel the power of your inwardly directed gaze. This is you looking into your world, not the world outside. Not the world of automobiles and carpets and TV sets, but the world of your original face, your original presence to your own self. If I go left, I leave the frame, and all kinds of ideas can begin gushing in my mind. So I hold to the directions of sitting quietly facing a wall or a candle. Candles are good that way. One candle. Face that candle that's next to a wall. Just look within. By that I mean turn your eyesight around as if it's aimed at your own eyes, because it is. When you get into this state of not thinking and not doing, just being, and you do this over and over again, we can't miss but feeling the grace of God. It now becomes your grace, but feels like it comes from outside. When you can sit and just constantly be aware of your sitting body and everything else that you're acquainted with in this state, including the silence and the bliss. turning your attention inwards. Look for the self in your head, between the eyes. Everything slows down. Thinking stops, more or less. And then you have a chance to move freely between different states of consciousness. In this state, it's hard to say, I am, because it's just as true to say, I am not. But as a meditator, when you're able to bathe in the presence of God in your own self, nothingness acquires an entirely different value. It's not a thing you're looking after. You're not a thing. You are the source of all things. All things come to you through everyday life and in meditation. You can't help it. You dwell in space that is infinite and very powerfully, addictively focused on yourself. And as you focus on yourself, and now it's hard to give any more detailed instructions than that. But if you're first trying it, you might enter a space where you feel extremely peaceful. Or you may still be harassed by distractions. But if you let it, when you reach the stage of just being aware of yourself and not paying attention to anything else, you feel different. You're no longer fit inside your body. You can even feel yourself going deeper into consciousness, because the regular things of everyday life disappear. The self you perceived yourself to be before beginning meditation is gone. And it's replaced by immersion in the deep parts of your consciousness that is able to pass through stages of bliss, happiness, physical pain from position, until you're at a place of rest. Here you rest. Even if you have to pay attention to yourself in a few different ways before you can catch hold of yourself. Yourself becomes like a flashlight. It illumines the inner world, not with visual things, but with the taste of bliss. If you shut your eyes, not even full way, but halfway, it's harder to fall asleep this way, with the eyes half open, because you ignore the eyes anyway. And you go after what is the feeling of the totality. What am I in the environment? And at some point along the line, it'll shake you that what you're doing is becoming aware of lower and lower levels of mind till it blends into that field of self-awareness wherein everything you know, everything you experience lies. You become a visitor from the past or future who enters this room with utmost quiet and feels the presence of others. But keeping your attention turned around from thinking about things outside of yourself to just being aware of your own self. And the bliss of no self, if you've obtained that state by meditation over a long period of time, where you just turn your vision around inside. I'm here, slightly behind the body and my mind. And everything I perceive is filled with emptiness, yet dripping with bliss. Once my attention has returned to myself, I'm no longer a human. I've risen all above that. I've seen human meditation firsthand in every different way, through the eyes of different gurus, as well as my own feeling of depth or completion. Now, I'd say meditation is boring, but to the experienced meditator, it's a gift of bliss, peace, no longer the busyness of the everyday world. That's it. It's the key. You're searching for yourself, deeper levels of awareness. Sometimes your body will appear to feel like a brick. At other times, it'll be light as air. But when you can feel your mind spread throughout your whole body, so that you're aware of your whole body and your whole body in bliss, it becomes very captivating. You don't want to move. You think to yourself, how the hell can I be attaining anything by looking within? Well, it's easy. When you look within, you're no longer looking without for sustenance or peace or some goodies. And all of your insides begin to relax. And then all that there is you. Now you're in you. What would you ever, ever, ever accept that as an accurate measure of your truth? No, it's too simple. But what you're doing is learning to look at consciousness itself, which is both you and not you at the same time. If consciousness is a movie theater, you are the spectator. The awarer, that which is aware. You won't be there. I won't be there after the death of my body. It won't be the same. But it doesn't bother me. Because the concepts of same and not same disappear. And all that you are is you now, sitting in a comfortable state. And the awareness of yourself in that state brings a lot of joy and bliss. When it becomes bliss, it's like a torch that you have to gaze at with no choice. It's the origin of the sea of consciousness within you. Now, there are things you can do in this plane. But it's important only that you stop going asleep when you take this position of looking at your own self. So fight against the desire just to slip away, all the way into the unconscious. We do this every day. When you practice meditation, you slow the whole process down. So it's easier to make sense of consciousness and what the meditator meditates on. I am everything. That's a false statement. As I realize deeper inside, there's no things. There's only consciousness. And there is also the one who is aware of consciousness. and being steeped in consciousness. So it's very easy for a meditator who's practiced for a few years just to drop into nothingness and wade there, like wading in a swimming pool. But here, the swimming pool is dark and all is quiet. And as I turn myself inwards, I start feeling bliss throughout my body. I don't know what the source is. I don't know what to explain about it. So provisionally, I will take all those teachings that I've learned from Robert or whoever and say to myself, all such truths from all such paths are contained within myself. And what I experience depends on how still I am in the presence of myself, in the presence of God. Because once you've experienced yourself totally, as an empty consciousness, the happiness flows throughout your entire body. After a while, too, the act of falling asleep in meditation disappears. Because of the state of awareness you feel of the entirety of your being is so very, 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 very powerful that you just want to dwell here inside yourself. Until an alarm wakes you up and tells you where the next place that you're supposed to be is. Just rest in yourself. Don't fight it. Don't fight to know yourself. Just let the self come to you. Self meets self. But other than that, I don't think there's anything other than that that's special about meditation. It's just that when you get very deep inside your own mentation, where your consciousness may be focused in the area of the heart or the entire body at once. The peace you feel is extraordinary. And you last in it for a long time until sort of naturally you come out of that state, return to ordinary mind. Ordinary mind of being a human being. Of the need to breathe. Need to eat. But staring within at myself. Taking a position slightly above. And behind myself. I can grasp the entire world in front of me, as well as the darkness and the bliss from within. And you see, this begins a new teaching for you. That there's more to your world than eating, sleeping, sex, enjoying television. Because resting in yourself and with yourself becomes ecstatic. As I look into my mind or into that emptiness within myself, I experience bliss. I experience energy. I experience awareness of myself as an aware entity. And once I'm aware of myself that way, everything becomes easier in spirituality. Because you've gained the ability to enter the dark world of bliss and happiness that lies at the root of your everyday experience. But nowhere along the way has anyone taught you that there's a way to be with yourself that is infinitely pleasurable. And where you can feel a great power within you. This awareness of one's own self is so awfully important. They can teach you things, yes, but that's not the point. The point is your basic nature is sentience and bliss. Sensual could be explained as visual awareness. Visual awareness of what's happening in your deep mind. The part that tends to slip away when you're in meditation, when you fall asleep. When your meditation becomes deep and powerful, you feel that power in your meditation and in satsang. Don't worry about coming out of meditation or coming to a place where you can't stop. Because meditation is a natural process. It happens to all of us when we become aware of consciousness within. And that which is illuminated by the consciousness within, the emptiness, the nothingness. And the knowledge of that which is bliss. Oh, brother, meet me in the temple of silence, in the temple of bliss. I will meet thee. I will touch thee. I will love thee in my temple of bliss. I will meet thee. I will touch thee. I will love thee in my temple of bliss. In my temple of bliss. Now, another value that comes out of meditation as you realize you're not just Joe Blow. You're also consciousness. You're also bliss. You're also that mendation can put together logically. After a while, you can even move around in this meditation space without losing hold of that bliss. That the I am desires so strongly. There's such freedom in this awareness. You become aware. You're not just like everybody else, living in a daily dream. That's for you. The dream is to dwell in that still consciousness that doesn't move and is the source both of your beingness but of also the world. Nothing is as it seems. Consciousness. Also, nothing exists without you being there and being aware. I highly recommend walking meditation. Where you take your Walkman or whatever recording device you have. There are many tracks of meditation music. But maybe as well as me speaking to you. Because once you get to this depth of your own mind, there's nothing but peace. And below the peace is bliss. So, how you know what you are not, you know what you are. Just keep pinned as much as possible to the I am through meditation. And every day, wherever you have a chance, look within yourself. Find that peaceful surrender state. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, just speak right up. I lost the visuals on the other participants. so I can't see who raises their hand or not.
Michael T. What? Can you hear
Speak
me?
louder, please.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. When you did the chant not so long ago, about the temple of silence, the temple of bliss, it really, it sort of reminded me of old school Ed with the Shakti. It, uh, I really connected into, what felt as energetics and grace. And it, for me, it's really easy to go there. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm having trouble with the void and stillness, what I see when I go there. And it's probably a matter of that I haven't meditated nowhere near as long as you. But I could see everything from heading to stillness into the void, including my primal self, the chaos in the world. It's almost like being in the eye of a hurricane. And it, while peaceful, it doesn't have the taste of when you say such a pretty chant, and when I feel grace and love and the divine in a very pleasurable chant that you said. When I go into the void and stillness, while it is peaceful, I see infinity. I see the troubles of the world. I see my karma. I see the whole thing. And sometimes it gets so difficult and it's like a weight bearing down on me. And I have to just time out of my meditation and do it again. And I guess it goes a lot to this because you don't talk too much about it. And sorry for me to reroute this, but and it goes to karma, the Book of the Dead, and that kind of stuff, where a lot of reputable spiritual people in of the old age recognizes the potential for rebirth, and even mundane people of this world joke about what comes around goes around. Their awareness is total zero. They just laugh about it, and they just, when it comes to them, they kind of ignore it out of being delusional. But it seems like that energy of coming around, going around, that whole purpose of being in life to learn, it becomes exhausting at a given point, at a given age. When you're young, you're jumping around. Even when you're meditating, you're kind of you're on your trip and you're thinking, okay, this isn't bad. But when you get older, like you get in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, it becomes overwhelming. I guess to make a long story short, it seems like when I go into Shakti, it provides a burning or a method to sort of overlap all that chaos, the primal stuff and karma and all that through grace and devotion. But when I take the route, a direct route to the void, it seems like I get it's shocking sometimes. And sometimes it's hard to get to that level of stillness with the hurricane of the other stuff going on. So I guess my question eh, is it a is it a matter of paths? If is to the individual, do they go vertical or horizontal? Or do you lean toward stillness in the void versus grace and activity and Shakti? Or do you still nurture the weakness? In my case, it's the stillness and void. Do I still go about exploring there and developing, or should I go with my strength, which is the other?
Which is the what?
Which is the other, which is the bliss, the not so much the bliss, because I feel bliss on both sides of it, but more so strongly with Shakti. Not that it's the end goal, but when I go with the chanting, the development of the life force, and then ultimately when there's no life force, still going toward grace it's a different avenue than just than stillness in the void, and it's more or less my strength versus the other. So, am I better to stick to what I'm strong at, or should I still nurture the emptiness in the void as well?
Well, I don't understand what you consider your strength now.
What I considered my strength is, for example, when you chanted earlier, the Temple of Silence, the Temple of Bliss, that sort of livens my energy toward light, grace, and grace, and a form of its own stillness, but in a different venue than me sitting down in a quiet place to get into the void and to the stillness. It's almost like taking two different routes. So the route of chanting and grace and light, should I just focus on that and go 100% in that venue? Or should I also concentrate on the quietness and the void as well?
Be aware of everything. Leave nothing out. But don't invent stories about what that means in terms of your mentation and mind and meditation. Don't be tempted by the words to attach experience to different kinds of words. Just always sink into yourself. Just sink into yourself and see what you can see and feel what you can feel until the meditation is over by its own accord. Because from what you described, I have no idea really what bothers you. Just do what feels like it's meeting to a degree your desire to know and to be free.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, with the Shakti, I feel more of a loving, living divine, versus when I'm still and in trying to attempt to go to the void. I feel it, but less so. And I'm not minimizing that at all. But when I chant, it goes beyond words. I feel energy, a wind sort of from the side above me, energetically come and quiet everything down, and then I get devotional thought, and then it takes me to a form of stillness. But when I go to sit down and meditate, and explore the void, it's not as passionate in terms of the heart chakra. I shouldn't even say the heart chakra, because when the true divine energy should hit all the chakras. I'm almost thinking, if I was out in the ocean and obviously I'm in a state of chaos, and no one was there to rescue me and I was going to die of the elements, I would suppose the best way is to develop that coordination of getting into the void. That way you could totally surrender. But it's not as passionate, at least not for me, when it comes versus the chanting and the things we do with the Shakti.
Why do you want to know this? What the drive?
Because when I wanted to know this, because sometimes in deep meditation I get weighed down with, and even if I try to let go of the world, my own primal nature, my own karma, And sometimes it's overwhelming. And to take a break, I go to chant or try to do something devotional, and it takes it off my back. Um, like recently, I've meditated into the void, and it's almost like, okay, here's a hurricane around me, and I guess my question is there any merit to the things that are mentioned in the Book of the Dead about how we all carry elements of issues that we have to work out in it, or is it just BS and you could just kind of get rid of it all in our stage of existence as we are? So I guess the question goes to when you get enlightened, let's say, it seems like it's the beginning of the race, and enlightenment versus immortality is two huge different things. Um, when you've opened our eyes, you've opened mine at least. And when I did that, I saw both the positive and the other stuff, the darkness. And the question is, can we all in one existence be able to? I know a lot of people have that mindset. Who cares? It's the path you're on, suck it up and do it. But, after a while, it gets exhausting. And so I guess the
I really
question
don't
is,
understand what your problem is.
do we reincarnate?
I have no idea. Personally, I doubt it.
And do you believe in karma?
To a degree, but really, I get to the place where I believe nothing and only accept what's in my consciousness in the here and now. And I spend as much time as possible just being with myself alone, feeling the bliss and feeling the boil of meditation always going on. But it's like for you, these are two solid states that are different. And I don't understand that.
Yeah, I almost look at it as the vertical versus horizontal aspects. I hate to put it into terms of physics or direction, but going into the void seems to me as different as starting off with loving and chanting. Although I know you probably have a way of merging the two together, it's not very easy.
I don't try to do that. I just watch it, what unfolds for me. I don't try to control it.
Right?
I just watch, feel, and maybe talk to myself. But mostly, I just rest in the reflection of consciousness. And there's not all of these different questions because these questions don't touch that space that I'm talking about.
Right. And the only reason why I use the questions is that unlike there's uh there's two sides of the stories about talking and questions. To some, they have no problem with it at all because they have a quiet mind. For others, their minds run a little bit more, but it also allows the mind to understand the aspects of the divine and spirituality to where it gets to the point during meditation that it could understand and give itself up easier rather than not having the questions and conversation. Um, so to me, well, yes, sometimes good to just shut one's mouth and just be quiet. There's also times where you hit a rock and you talk to a spiritual teacher like yourself and have him distinguish, what's up or what's wrong or how one can
I'll,
deal with it.
I'll
Because
put it this,
otherwise,
I'll put it this way.
yeah,
When I
okay,
was with Robert, I didn't do anything. I left it all to him. When I
great.
go into satsang, I just meditate and leave it all to him. I didn't do anything for myself to try to understand or try to arrange or set up circumstances or feel or reject it. I just was watching whatever happened. And sometimes it was very surprising what was happening. But I think you're trying to wrap the solution in a much smaller package, too small to really grasp how the enormity of what you are as bliss consciousness.
Well, I understand that. I know what you're saying. It's just for the lack of time. I'm trying to pat it. It comes off and it appears that way. However, it's not. It doesn't all happen within the whims of words. The journey of being spiritual takes years, as you very well know, and you're a master at it. So I'm just trying to get some insight at where I'm at to where to, how to, what avenue to take when these things arise.
I'll say from this point, stop that. Don't confuse yourself. Just be very gentle with yourself and always be attending to your own self, your inner world, if you can. And if you can't do it in your waking mind, do it when you practice meditation. The more you practice meditation, the easier everything becomes. But we're talking about a matter of decades. There's no magic to this. There are no passkeys. It's all a matter of grunting it out. Go look around into yourself and find that flashlight of awareness and sink into that light. There are many, you're actually, it sounds like you're looking more for understanding of the process than of actually pursuing the process. That somehow, if you could get a perspective on where you go next and what happens next, it'll help.
Well, I'm not fixated. I get into these phases of that where I see where I'm up in my own development while I'm developing. I know I can't go beyond what I do in terms of where I'm at. However, it's it's human to think, okay, where am I at? How old am I? Okay, where am I coming along? I know your method is say just bullshit, just concentrate on your still, just be who you are, constant, just let it go and be relaxed. And I do that. But then there's times where, I hit a bump in the road. I'm thinking, okay, uh, I'm doing like, for example, going through Shakti versus the void. It it's better with me. Um, and you've answered my question, and I thank you about nurturing
Okay.
both sides. Because for a while, I was just going to give into one versus the other. because it was so easy for me to attain peace and grace that way.
Do it that way then.
Okay.
Do it whichever way you feel inside to be most helpful to you in this present time. And that will change from decade to decade or year to year.
All right. And I wanted to thank everybody for their patience.
You see, I speak about freedom, and so do you. But I don't speak about, oh, I guess I do. Just immersing yourself in yourself as your major practice. Don't get any more complicated than that. Just find out what yourself is, or what silence is, or what consciousness is, and to feel consciousness and what part of consciousness you call the self, if there's any part that you call the self. It's a matter of exploration, not of learning a system. It's not like playing chess with rules, boundaries. There are no rules. There are no boundaries. There's really no existence, but there appears to be an existence. So you have to attend to that. Really, none of this exists, really. It's just multiple stories joined together that create a person. Get rid of the stories, and you're already there. Do you feel bliss when you look within?
Um, I feel bliss. Bliss almost comes on its own accord,
Say that again.
and it comes on its own accord, like on its own force, on its own power. I sort of feel I sort of feel like I can the consciousness sort of overlaps the world and nature and environment and I get a lot of that while it's still my mind. I get peace and total relaxation and I disengage with the outer world. But like when you speak and you go into chanting and that lively energy comes, I actually feel, dare I say, I actually feel the divine connection, which is different than just the mere peace that I experience while I'm into the void. I feel this extra bit of resonating passion that a living God is actually. And I'm the biggest pundit on the planet, so I don't want to, I don't want to make it sound that I sound religious or anything, but it actually feels that there is actually a living God that's carrying us or carrying me at times. And when I lose that feeling, I get terrified. And I often lose that feeling when I get focused too much with the working world.
Yes.
And I actually have fear, and I'll be honest with the group, that if, God forbid, if I was in a situation where my health went bad and that I'm going to imminently pass, not that it's, it is what it is, that I wouldn't know how to get myself in the state of mind. What I mean is, I actually feel the stress of the body and the health sort of enact on its own accord, and it's harder to make the connection. Um, it's sort of like, how do you get connected in the midst of stress, if that ever comes in life? To which, first, unfortunately, it does for some people. Is it better to just try to get into the void, or just say, fuck it, forget it? I did what I could and just let it go and be at peace with yourself.
Do that. Just be aware of yourself and fall back into that awareness when you're in meditation so that it becomes everything. But don't take these directions too seriously. They're meant to be figurative, not directive, because directive doesn't work in a world that has no boundaries. I don't get the feeling that anything I say would remove that doubt in you. So there's a doubt source in you, which is to know, and knowing that is very important, because that's your shortcut to the infinity. It's by digging into that knot. That knot is a blockage. Liberate yourself from that by peering into it constantly and identifying with it. Make yourself believe that that is you, all the knots, until they unfold of their own accord by being attended to. But to give generalized directions about meditation, they could take none of that into account. So each person has to meet their difficulties head on. And when you come to me, you tell me the things you do, and what the things you do are fine, they're great, just keep doing them. But don't create more questions than are necessary.
But I think you pretty much hit it on the spot. Thank you very much. But what does one do, lastly, because I don't want to take any much more of your time. I always wanted to ask this, but I had, not that they were major, but when I had my health episodes, I didn't give up meditation, or at least contemplation. But it was surely the hell hard, excuse my language, to connect. And I'm sure you can do it, but maybe somebody who's really developed in meditation and their spirituality can. But when you're in a state of illness, and is there, even if you're lying down, do you just do your best? Is that's all you can do, right? Because uh, to actually finding that spot in the stillness, is it gets even tinier and harder while you're in the state of illness.
What you're asking me, though, is how do I get enlightened when there's all these different things inside of me? There's moods, there's peace, there's ecstasy. How do I get more? You practice more. You think about it more. You struggle with the issue more. You make it the center of your life. Your doubt, and how your doubt is keeping you from whatever. If, in fact, doubt is keeping you from anything, I think you've manufactured a story for yourself that's going to be hard to win from, except to follow the feelings, get away from the conclusions, the ideas. Just follow what you're feeling when you enter meditation. And just relax there. Because there's an inner teacher inside of you that will begin to trust more in your own abilities than look at ways of solving problems that aren't really for solution or for ignoring and transcending. Very simple. It's so simple that it's hard to grasp. Just be aware of yourself at all times, even in social settings if you can. And then when it comes time to relax, just relax, let it all go. Let it all go. You shouldn't have to adopt any attitude that makes you work 24 hours a day towards some end of enlightenment. Take it easy on yourself. And just be more aware of that not in you that's asking you to ask these specific questions. That's a turning point in you. That's your leverage. That's your way out. That's the kind of problems where you read about the monks that were bitten by a problem and it just carried with them month after month, year after year, and got stronger and stronger till they had a breakthrough. Because I don't know enough of their breakthrough, what it would be, or how to get it on. Just trust the process. Come to me when you need a fix. Come to yourself when you don't need a fix.
Hey, Reggie, thank you for your time.
Sure. Okay. I love you all. Really know that. And I try to help each insofar as I can. But as a generalization, it's very hard to invent a system that takes into account all problems on the way to self-realization. But one safe bet is always to keep your attention on yourself. That's all you have to do. And that's enough. That's hard enough. And then when you sit to do meditation, then you can do it like 100%. But the rest of the day, do it 20% or 30%. I love you all. Take care. And see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.